Hey y'all, I'm live. Happy Tuesday. Let me just set up this live stream real quick. TV antennas in the back. A call at all. Oops, let me hit save. Sisters, you can still stand tall. Some rooftop, digging the scene with the gangster lean. Ooh. Diamond in the back, some rooftop, digging the scene with the gangster lead. Ooh. Some rooftop, digging the scene with the gangster lead. Ooh. I'm almost there, y'all. Hope everybody is doing well. Uh-oh, Teddy. Come on and go with me. Come on over to my place. He said, I don't feel like being lonely tonight. He said he wants some company. All right, who the hell is calling me? All right, they messing up my flow. Okay. Hey, Tara. I see you're the only one in here, it looked like. Oh, no, there's more. Hey. Hey, Kenyatta. All right, who the hell is calling me? All right, they messing up my flow. Hey, Siobhan. Hey, Cheese. Hey, Phyllis. Hey, Dust. Hey, Dr. Ken. Hey, Palace. You just let the evening flow. Come on and go with me. Doom, doom. Come on over to my place. This is a sponsored video. Come on and go with me. Now I'm just waiting for the chat to fill up. I know I didn't post a notification, but sometimes it bees like that. Besides, the person who sponsored this video, he knows I'm going live right about now. So I'm hoping that he pops up in the chat. I hope everybody is doing well. And before, let me turn this music off. Before I get into the main topic, I did want to talk about Leo season before Leo season comes to an end, mainly just a theme of Leo, which is children. So I wanted to get into a little discussion about that before I get into the main topic. And hopefully that'll give the sponsor some time to get himself ready and come into the chat. So again, I hope everyone is doing well. Happy birthday to all the Leos. Happy Leo season, even though Leo season is almost out and it's going to make its way for Virgo season. I hope everybody is doing well despite Mercury being retrograde. Mercury will be turning direct pretty soon. We only got about 8 more days, so hold on. Hey, Bad Robot. You could just go to my website. The link is in the description section if you want to purchase a reading. Hey, Awkward Letter. What's up? But yeah, one of the things I was wanting to discuss real quick, it's just life itself, and then also children, because children are ruled by Leo. And as of late, I've been watching a number of videos from anti-natalists about the anti-natalists and also child-free people, people that don't want children. And I find their take on this subject very interesting. There's this one woman in particular that I really like. I recently found her on YouTube. Her name is Sovereign Woman. Shout out to Sovereign Woman. Um, she's a Scorpio, I found out, and she's very much against having children. She's not really for getting married, at least for herself, that is. So she puts out a number of videos about why she wants to be child free. And she often gets frustrated with people that call her selfish for not wanting to have children. But the people that are on the child free side and the anti-natalist side, their view is that to have children is to be selfish. And their decision not to have children is the ultimate form of compassion. Because in their minds, they're like, why bring a child into this world? Hey, triple A, double A, love you too. Hey, Jupiter going wild. So their perspective is, why bring a child into this world when you know this child is going to suffer in some way, shape, or form? So on one hand, you could say that these people that have this mindset are idealists, meaning like they really don't want to deal with the reality of the way things are in the world and how the world works and all that type of stuff. But on the other hand, I feel like they're being very practical and logical about it too. And I feel that sometimes, well, I can't say sometimes, I'll just say the older I get, the more I'm starting to see that, yeah, having children is part of the programming. If you listen to my last live stream, I was talking about how I'm trying to break free from the programming. Mind you, I have 3 children myself. My children are all grown, they're adults. But if I was thinking very logically, like how I am now, if I was thinking very rationally, like how I am now, I might have, not have made the choice to have children simply because the way this world is. And even though my children are adults and I love them to death, even as adults, you still worry about those children. Like, not a day goes by that I'm like thinking about, okay, are my children safe? I don't freak out about it or anything, but it's a constant concern that's in the back of your head as a parent, that you're always concerned that they're going to make the right decisions, that they're not going to find themselves into trouble, or that some crazy person's not going to try to take them out and stuff. So that alone is a burden to have to carry as a parent, to always just be thinking about, okay, what's the worst that can happen, and to even have to endure the possibility that your child might pass before you do. And it does happen. So I am of the mindset now where I'm like, yeah, maybe a lot of us really should think long and hard before bringing children into this world, especially nowadays with the way the world is going. And it's like children can't even be children anymore because social media, it's just crazy. But yeah, I totally respect where these people are coming from, like in terms of their mindset, the anti-natalists and the child-free people, because again, if you really think in a very rational and logical mindset, and I feel like this mindset is very Aquarian, because Aquarius is the most human sign of the zodiac. And when I say the most human sign, not in terms of being humane, that's different, but in terms of being a total rational being, a total logical being where there's really no emotions attached to the mindset. Ideally, that is. Of course, when you take the whole chart into consideration, you'll see that there's a lot of Aquarians that do have a strong emotional component with them. But I'm talking about the purity of the Aquarius sign is human, in that it's very rational, it's very logical, very scientific. And that part is very human. It's nothing dealing with animal. When we do give ourselves over to those animalistic urges, sex being a big one, a lot of times we don't think, we don't use our logic, we don't use our rationality. So again, these anti-natalists and these child-free people, they're coming from a very Aquarian perspective where it's like they're above the emotional quality of humanity, and they can basically take themselves out of the programming and say, you know what, I'm going to remain liberated, and I'm not going to bring a child into this world that's going to be subjected to the will of karma, because that's what's going to happen. It doesn't matter if you're born, if a person is born rich, if a person is born with all of these blessings, they're still going to go through some type of suffering, rich or poor. Of course, poor people will deal with even more suffering. And then that brings me to this question too. If you're poor, should you be having children? I say no, and I think a lot of people would say no. But again, those animal urges are very hard to be able to exercise restraint for a lot of people. And I've noticed, poor people, sometimes sex is one of the main forms of entertainment that they have because they don't have much else. And then sometimes there's a lack of education about contraceptives and all that type of stuff. But I say all this because I just wanted to get y'all opinion about children. So my first question to y'all is there any rationale for having children that is not selfish? Is there any rationale for having children that is not based upon selfish intent? I tried to come up with a reason that's not selfish for having children, and I couldn't come up with one. I couldn't come up with a single reason that would constitute a lack of selfishness when it comes to deciding to have children. Because again, if you really think from a logical standpoint, and if you really have compassion, would you really want to bring somebody into this world when you know they're going to have to suffer in some way, shape, or form? And some might really have to suffer because they might be born with birth defects. They might end up with some type of mental disorder. I agree, Tara. I can't think of a single reason that would be non-selfish for having children. Siobhan said, nope, you're either selfish or in allegiance with the government's selfishness. Yeah, and then you have people that try to guilt trip people that don't want to have children and be like, well, don't you want a legacy? Don't you want to have people that's going to take care of you when you get older? All of that is selfish intent. Even if you, hey, Lish, even if you want to bring a child into this world because you think that they're going to be good for humanity, that's still coming from a selfish perspective. And then we could take it a step further. Like once the children are here, now it's like, okay, you have to conform. You have to do this. You have to go to school. You got to do this. You got to do that. And now that child is like, oh my goodness, I didn't even ask to come here. And then some parents are really raw with it. As soon as that child turns 18, you got to go. You're an adult now. And it's like, but you brought me into this. You brought me on this earth. Like I didn't have any choice to come here. So again, I think it's just really interesting that a lot of people of the younger generations, the millennials and the Gen Zers, are choosing not to have children. Part of the reason is because things have become so damn expensive. It is outrageous in terms of the cost to raise a child. But other people, again, are of the mindset like, I don't want to bring a child into this world to suffer. And on one hand, you could be like, well, that's just the way life is. And we have to perpetuate this cycle of karma and we have to continue to bring souls here. But do we really? Hey, Mariah, can we rise above it? And of course, there's always going to be people that have children. But for people that are enlightened, you might want to think twice, considering your circumstances. Now, if you got plenty of money, then it's like, yeah, I can have children, I can take care of them. But even then, like I said, there's liable to be some serious challenges that child is going to face in life. And yeah, if I had to do it all again, knowing what I know now, I probably wouldn't have brought my children into this world simply to save them from suffering. And then you have to sometimes I ask myself, what is the meaning of life? Like, why are we even here? Is it for us to be tested? Is it just the soul going through these reincarnations just so that we can experience every side of life? Why are we here? What is the whole purpose? Are we here just to work and pay bills? For me, I'm like, hell no. I lived my life like that for too long. And I'm like, I am no longer just living to work and pay bills. But it seems like that's what the system wants you to be. Just be a worker and you pay bills and you just do it over and over and over again until you get old and feeble. And now If you're lucky, you might have some kids that might take care of you, If not, you might see yourself in a nursing home. But again, sometimes I really wonder, like, what's the whole purpose of it all? Why are we here? Thus said, everything is infinity and a timeless like loop. Yep. Now I'm looking for Justin because he sponsored this video and I don't see him yet, but I guess he'll come in here because I wanted to talk to him directly. Justin, where are you at? If you're in here, just say something in the chat so I know you're here because I'm kind of waiting before I get into the main topic. Oh, let me pull up this video on my phone. Arnold. Arnold. I had fun preparing for this video. Let me tell you, I went back and watched some of his old movies and I was just enjoying it. Yes. Palace says some of our parents had us just to abuse us, right? Right. And then to make sense of it, the only way to make sense of this is to say, oh, that was your karma. Because I'm like, how else do you make sense of children having to be abused, babies having to be abused? How do you make sense of that but to say, oh, it's karma? And then even if we say it's karma, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, yeah, that's all fine and well. But again, what is the whole end purpose? What is the end goal of this? Is this just for God to pleasure himself? To see people just running around and like acting a fool and killing each other and suffering? Is that God's intention? Is there even a God that really cares? I do believe that there's some type of intelligent creative force that created this universe, but is there a God that basically is orchestrating everything and that is basically making us go through this stuff, I guess, for the end time for us to come meet him? Diapers are $100. Damn, who said that? But yeah, sometimes I just feel like we're just here for some higher being's amusement. Oh, that's you, Justin. Hey, okay. All right. All right, let's get it on. All right, Justin. J-Bat. Okay. So let me share my screen because I don't have too much time today because I gotta do a reading tonight and some other stuff. Hold on. Where is the PowerPoint? Hold on to your love. All right. We're going to have to do the thing again where y'all press 1 when you can see the image. So as you can see, this video is about Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I titled this UBERMENSCH, which basically means Superman, or basically a man that has done it all, you could say. And that's why I'm calling Arnold Schwarzenegger the Ubermensch. It's actually a term that has been coined by Friedrich Nietzsche in his book, Thus Spoke Zarathustra or whatever. But he was just talking about we need to move away from the spiritual in terms of the ideal man and focus on the material side of things. Okay, so you can see it. Thank you. Hey, Dre, how you doing? But yeah, so that's why I chose Ubermensch for Arnold Schwarzenegger, because on a material level, he basically is that. He is like a Superman type of character. And not just in film either, like in his real life. So let's get into it. This video has been sponsored by Justin. Thank you, Justin, for sponsoring this video. And Justin, like I told you, I really enjoyed myself preparing for this video. And I was watching some of his old movies and I was really getting into it. And a couple of movies, they basically show Arnold in the buff. And like in the Terminator, for instance, and what's the other one? Red Heat, they show him in the buff. And I have to admit, Arnold did have a nice ass. Like he had a nice little package back there. You know, he started off as a bodybuilder, right? But even as a bodybuilder, if you look at his body compared to a lot of the modern day bodybuilders, Arnold, he was cut up, but not too cut up, especially like when you looked at his ass, because his ass was plump. It wasn't just all ripped like how some guys where you could like actually see the glute muscles and stuff like that. Arnold was at the top of his game back in the day in terms of bodybuilding. So we're going to get into basically his whole life. So Justin, I know you had some specific questions, but I decided to just cover his whole life. Why? Because I was a fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger growing up, watching all the movies, started off with Conan. Yes. So I really enjoyed myself. And Justin, he is into bodybuilding as well. And let me just tell you, Justin, I am so proud of you. You have come such a long way. So y'all, and Justin, I hope I'm not going to embarrass you or anything, but I might seem like I'm flirting with you a little bit, but I just got to let everybody know your journey. So when Justin first came to me as a client, right? I don't know. How did I guess, I saw pictures of you via Facebook, right? So he friended me on Facebook. I friended him back and I'm seeing pictures of him. I'm like, oh, Justin, he's a good looking dude. Okay. And Justin had a small frame, like very, very thin. And he told me at one point, he was like, yeah, I want to get into bodybuilding. And I was like, oh, yeah, definitely. Oh, and Justin, I forgot to pull up your chart. I'll do that in a minute. So I'm looking, Justin has Venus and Mars in Capricorn. And when I saw those Capricorn placements, I was like, oh yeah, he could definitely do it. Oh, I love you too, Justin. I was like, oh, he could definitely do it. He's going to have the discipline. And he's a Scorpio, and Scorpio is the essence of bodybuilding, let me tell you. So yes, Justin's transition has been phenomenal. I mean, he started off being small. And mind you, I like small guys. He was like small, but still like, Justin, you don't have like an ounce of body fat at all, seems like. And then if you look at your pictures on Instagram, when I be seeing you flex and I look at your abs, like you have like no body fat. It's like, I don't know if you know the percentage of your body fat, but it's outrageous, like the way you're cut up now. And I'm just so proud of you with your dedication, your discipline, and you've come such a long way. And I know you're going to get even bigger and better. But yeah, so I just wanted to put that out there. So you said, what are the aspects that made him achieve extreme success? So I'll get into that. You said, did he sell his soul to the devil to achieve that type of fame, success? Let me address this right now. Now, we know Arnold made it big in Hollywood. So when something happens like that, a lot of times the actors are selling their soul to a certain extent. So I would say Arnold has sold his soul to a certain extent, especially considering that he also became the governor of California, which you're asking right here. You said, how the hell did he become governor of California? So I'm going to answer that question. You said, what aspects point to his bodybuilding career and what are the quintessential bodybuilding aspects? Because I want to see if I have those in my chart. Now, I'm going to provide a list of the qualities that go into bodybuilding, and it's a number of factors. So it's not like it's just one perfect recipe, because you just basically need a certain sign placements and house placements and certain trines and sextiles and conjunctions that can really make that happen. So I'll get into those in a minute. And then you said, could he be a classic dark-sided, egotistical, vain, arrogant, narcissistic Leo? Now, I would say he is narcissistic, but maybe not in terms of having narcissistic personality disorder. I really don't get that from him, considering his life story. Arrogant, yes. Would I call him dark-sided? No. But egotistical, vain, arrogant, yes. And does he have some narcissistic tendencies? Yes. I would say all of that. But at the end of the day, I don't see Arnold as being dark-sided. Maybe I'm being a little biased because I love his movies, but I really don't see it. I think more would have came out about him. And he has been involved in a few scandals, which I'll be getting into. But yeah, I don't see him as being straight up dark-sided. Hey, free spirit. Well, you enjoy your work day. I'm glad that you're popping in to join us, even if you could do it for like 5-10 minutes. All right. Oh, Lord, I forgot I had him up in here. Let me know when y'all see the next picture. That's that. Where he at? Where he at? Now, the guy you see right here being interviewed by Arnold, he's one of my favorite bodybuilders, Justin. His name is Kevin Levrone. I spoke about him before during one of my live streams. And I'm not really into bodybuilders like that. I'm not really into like that big bulky frame, but it was something about Kevin that like, ooh, he got me a little hot and bothered. I'm just saying. But anyway, yes, Kevin Levrone. He I think he's won maybe 1, 2, or 2 Mr. Olympia competitions, but he's with Arnold right here. Arnold is interviewing him. Arnold has won 7 Mr. Olympia competitions. Siobhan said Kevin looked crazy. All right, here they are again, just to show you Kevin and Arnold. But again, if you see Arnold's abs versus Kevin, Kevin got that Roy gut a little bit. Like if you saw Kevin standing to the side, like his profile, his abs would be sticking out a bit because that's what happens when you get roided up and stuff like that. Arnold, as you can see his abs, you see that hollowed out? That's like you got like 0 body fat. Like you just all muscle right there. I'm just like, wow. But anyway, here are some of the astrological ingredients for bodybuilders. Again, there's no perfect recipe to go into like what makes a good bodybuilder. So the bodybuilders that have a combination of these ingredients can be successful. So having at least one planet in Taurus or being a Taurus rising definitely helps because Taurus is about aesthetics and it's about the weights itself. You know, Taurus rules objects, possessions, and stuff. So the weights that you use to bulk up, that's very much Taurus. Also, you could say the energy drinks, the protein shakes, and all that, that goes into Taurus as well. And quite a few bodybuilders have created their own protein shakes and all that. So that goes into that. But the main thing with Taurus is aesthetics. And that's one of the things I learned about modern day bodybuilding is that they're kind of moving away from the aesthetic part. And they're more about how big you are, how big your biceps are, how big your quads are, instead of, no, do you have that aesthetically pleasing frame like Arnold did? So Arnold, he's a perfect example of an aesthetically pleasing bodybuilder. Gemini. So it helps to have some planets in Gemini or be a Gemini rising because Gemini rules the arms, the biceps, the triceps, and it's also doing with deal with reps. So Justin, you have a Taurus moon? Yes. And you love protein shakes? So yes, doing reps. That's Gemini, doing things over and over again repeatedly because that's what's necessary to build up those muscles. And then Cancer, it helps to have some planets in Cancer or be in a Cancer rising because Cancer rules the chest, the pecs, and Cancer is the sign of persistence and tenacity where you just keep going. Leo, so it helps to have at least one planet in Leo or to be a Leo rising because Leo rules competitions and winning. And it helps to be vain too when you're a bodybuilder. You know, they're always looking in the mirror. Virgo helps to have some Virgo energy up in your chart. So Virgo is about the training routines, diet, and coordination. Helps to have some Libra up in there. Libra is promoting symmetry, but Libra is also about weighing in. So getting on the scale and seeing how much you've gained. The poses during competitions is very Libra as well. Scorpio, of course, Scorpio is top. That's the top sign for bodybuilding. So Scorpio is weightlifting itself, resistance training, strength, power, endurance, and stamina. Sagittarius rules the quads, the glutes, but also growth. And when you talk about the gains that you get in the gym, that's Sagittarius. So Justin, you said Leo rising, 26 degrees. I'm always looking in the mirror. I ain't gonna lie. I know you do. I know you do, Justin. But yeah, that Leo is gonna help. And Capricorn, because Capricorn is giving good bone structure, discipline, and ambition. So some of the aspects, and without getting into specifics, some of the aspects that you would want to see to be successful as a bodybuilder would be positive aspects to the ascendant. So that could be like Pluto, sextile ascendant, Jupiter, trine ascendant, because the ascendant is dealing with your body and your appearance. Planets in the first house in positive aspect to other planets in the chart. Again, that first house is dealing with your body, your appearance. Having a determined and disciplined moon. So that could be a moon in an earth sign. That could be a moon that's conjoined to Saturn, or a moon that's in the 10th house. Justin, isn't your moon in the 10th house? I think it's right on your midheaven, ain't it? Venus, sextiles, and trines. So if Venus, because Venus rules aesthetics, if Venus is in sextile or trine with another planet in the chart, that helps. Mars, sextiles, and trines as well, with Mars representing energy, effort. Blessings from Jupiter. So having a well aspected Jupiter is going to help as well, with Jupiter representing growth. A prominent Pluto, because Pluto rules Scorpio, and that's very much dealing with weightlifting, resistance training, endurance, power, strength. Having a strong Saturn placement by sign or house, because Saturn brings patience, discipline, ambition, and success. Second house placements are important. Fifth house placements and sixth house placements come into play as well. Justin, I know you have Venus and Mars in Capricorn in your fifth house. I can't remember if you have anything in your sixth house, though. Hold on. Let me just pull up your chart real quick. I'm not going to post it online. I just want to take a peek at it. That's the one thing I forgot to do, is just pull up your chart. All right, let me see some of the ones you have. So you're a Leo rising, check. You got your North Node in Virgo, check. You got that Capricorn energy, check. Venus conjunct Mars in Capricorn in the fifth house. You also got Neptune in Capricorn in the fifth house. You got a sixth house Jupiter, which is good. Sixth house Uranus. Scorpio sun, of course. You got the Sagittarius energy, which is good for growth. And then you got Saturn in the eighth. It's making a trine with your Mercury, which is nice. Let's see. You got that Taurus moon conjoined to the midheaven, which is good. Okay. So I would say, yeah, you definitely have what it takes to be very successful as a bodybuilder. You got the juice. All right. Let's go back. All right. And then having eighth house placements works as well. And I think you have Saturn in the eighth. So yeah, you have the right ingredients. You definitely do. And then here is Arnold's chart and Kevin Levroni's chart, two bodybuilders. So I put their charts side by side just to talk about some of the positive aspects in their charts that make for good bodybuilders. So for Kevin, he has Sun in Cancer, trine Chiron in Pisces. That's him basically winning awards for his bodybuilding. He has Chiron in Pisces, trine Neptune in Scorpio, Venus and Mars in Gemini, trine Moon in Libra, Jupiter in Taurus, sextile Chiron in Pisces, North Node in Cancer, trine Saturn in Pisces, and South Node in Capricorn, sextile Saturn in Pisces. Arnold has Jupiter trining his Mercury and ascendant in Cancer, which is really good. He has South Node trine midheaven. And that's the thing with Arnold. I might as well discuss this now. So in astrology, when it comes to the nodes, you can either choose to have the mean node or the true node. And Arnold is one of those cases where you can see a difference between the signs. So if you were to select the true node, his south node would be at the 0 degree of Sagittarius, north node 0 degree of Gemini. The mean node, his south node's at the 29th degree of Scorpio, north node at the 29th degree of Taurus. I always select the mean node, and Arnold is one of those cases where you could really see that the mean node makes more sense, especially considering the fact that he started off as a bodybuilder, and even in terms of the movies he was in, like one of his most famous movies being the Terminator, but also considering his relationships, that's very much that south node at the 29th degree of Scorpio. So my advice is to always go with that mean node because it tends to be more accurate. All right, so let's get into Arnold's numerology. So Arnold was born on the 30th. So this is loner meditation energy. So this can mean that he spends quite a bit of time to himself. And this was very much the case when he was younger, when he was spending all those hours working out in the gym. So this 30 can produce that UBERMENSCH type of energy where you're like larger than life. Growth, travel, immigration. So he immigrated to the United States back in the early 80s. Wealth and superiority complex. So 30 can produce a superiority complex or even a God complex. And this makes me think of his Mr. Olympia titles. Life path number 31 breaks down to 4. So this is the number of hermit recluse, the 31 that is. So he's basically a man that probably does like to keep to himself quite a bit. He could be sociable when he wants to, but he's also the type that likes to spend a lot of time to himself. That 31 and 4 can cause him to be willful and rebellious. He mentioned that he was rebellious as a child and goal-oriented, but also obstinate and unreasonable when it comes to what he wants. Hey, Kawaii. And objectification. Anytime you're a bodybuilder or you're doing something where you're showing off your body, that's basically you being objectified. Showing a lot of skin, with that 4 representing nudity. So here's his chart right here. He's a Cancer rising, which makes a lot of sense because he has that big barrel chest. So he has Mercury rising in Cancer, Venus in Cancer, Sun in Leo. It's in the first house technically, but it's conjoined to that second house cusp. Saturn and Pluto in Leo in the second. He has Neptune in Libra in the fourth, Chiron in Scorpio, Jupiter in Scorpio, South Node in Scorpio in the fifth, Moon in Capricorn in the sixth, Black Moon Lilith in Capricorn in the seventh, North Node in Taurus in the 11th, Mars, Uranus, and Gemini in the 12th. All right, let me know when y'all can see the next slide. It's a black and white picture. If you're thinking to be my baby, it don't matter if you're black or white. Hey, Night. It's black, it's white. Hey, Skyline. All right. So I can see the next image. So I'm sure y'all can too. So this is a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger's parents. And his father was in the Nazi party because Arnold grew up in Austria and Austria fell under German rule back then. Now, Gustav, that's his father, was the local chief of police. And after the Anschluss in 1938, joined the Nazi party. And in 1939, the Sterbling, whatever that is, Gustav's background received wide press attention during the 2003 California gubernatorial recall election in which Schwarzenegger was elected. So the issues with his father being a Nazi, and especially how it came up when he was trying to run for governor, was Moon in Capricorn squaring Neptune in Libra. And this can deal with where he could have even felt kind of ashamed of his father and the Nazi ties. Also, Mercury, ruler of the fourth in Cancer, opposing Black Moon Lilith in Capricorn at fourth house, dealing with his father. Gustav preferred his elder son, Maynard, over Arnold. So Arnold, realizing that his brother is being favored by his father, that is Leo on the third house cusp, with Leo ruling fathers, third house ruling siblings. His favoritism was strong and blatant, which stemmed from unfounded suspicion that Arnold was not his biological child. So remember, Arnold's son is conjoined to his second house cusp. And he's saying his father's favoritism was strong and blatant. Favoritism is Taurus and the second house. So he has Leo on the second house cusp with the sun right on that second house cusp. That's representing his father's favoritism. And then the square involving Chiron and Scorpio, that's the father suspecting that Arnold may not even be his own son. That's crazy. But anyway, so basically Arnold was not very loved and accepted by his father when he was growing up. Now, he has said, however, that his father had no patience for listening or understanding your problems. So Moon in Capricorn squaring Neptune in Libra is representing that. In an interview with Fortune in 2004, Schwarzenegger told how he suffered what would now be called child abuse at the hands of his father. My hair was pulled, I was hit with belts, so was the kid next door. It was just the way it was. Many of the children I've seen were broken by their parents, which was the German Austrian mentality. So Moon in Capricorn, semi-square Jupiter in Scorpio. This is him basically talking about how he was abused. Mars in Gemini, quincunx Black Moon Lilith in Capricorn. This is basically representing his father pulling his hair. Now, with that Black Moon Lilith in Capricorn, Capricorn rules fathers. And with it being in the seventh house, that's like he's looking at his father as an enemy. And with the moon also representing mothers, that could be where the mom really wasn't a good buffer for the father, or she was basically controlled by the father as well. And then also later on in Arnold's life, he might start to see themes of his father come up through his relationships or through people that he knows, people that he might come into conflict with as well. Control being a major issue. Now, they didn't want to create an individual. It was all about conforming. I was the one who did not conform and whose will could not be broken. Therefore, I became a rebel. Every time I got hit and every time someone said, you can't do this, I said, this is not going to be for much longer because I'm going to move out of here. I want to be rich. I want to be somebody. Him saying he wants to be rich, that's that Sun and Leo on the second house cusp all day. But also him being rebellious, that's his Mars conjunct Uranus in Gemini in the 12th. Mars in Gemini, 12th house, quincunx Jupiter in Scorpio. So this is what he means where he's like, he was not going to conform. Every time he got hit, he basically was like, I'm not going to let them beat me. He had this determination and he wasn't going to let anybody stop him. Jupiter in Scorpio square Saturn and Pluto in Leo. This is basically representing his abusive father, the abuse that he suffered, but also his indomitable will as a result, where again, he's like, you could beat me, but you're not going to stop me. I'm going to continue to get stronger. Now, Arnold was a mama's boy. They say he had a very close relationship with his mother. So again, even though it looked like his mother with that moon square Neptune and also that aspect involving Black Moon Lilith, it looked like his mom really wasn't really protecting him from his father, but he still was very close to her nonetheless. So he had a good relationship with his mother, with whom he kept in touch until her death. So that's his Mercury in Ascendant and Venus in Cancer, trining the Pisces midheaven. All right, let's get into his formative years. So let me know when you can see the next image. It's a black and white picture of Arnold when he's a kid. She sure do. She she had that sharp jawline. Maria Shriver. Yeah, I'm going to get into that, Siobhan, too. Yep. And wait till you hear my take on that one, Siobhan, because remember I said that Black Moon Lilith, it's going to show up in his relationships, and control is a major factor. And that's why it's like certain relationships will remind him of the struggles he had with his father. Now, he struggled with reading and was later diagnosed as being dyslexic. So he has Mercury and Cancer ruling the 12th. That alone can produce challenges with learning how to read, speak properly, all of that. Cancer is one of the signs that can be very hard when it comes to teaching, like can be difficult. Not for all kids that have Mercury and Cancer, but for some. And it's because Cancer is a sign that does not deal with logic. So that child that has Mercury and Cancer, especially when ruling the 12th like that, could find the learning process to be rather daunting and confusing. But he also had Mars conjunct Uranus in Gemini in the 12th too, which added to his struggles with learning how to read. And then his son, ruler of the third house is like Gemini, that deals with reading comprehension, is in quincunx with Moon in Capricorn, which can mean that he was rather slow when it came to catching on to things. Also, influenced by his father, Schwarzenegger played several sports as a boy. So Mercury in Cancer is also representing his father because it rules the 4th house. And with it being conjoined to the ascendant, that's him basically being very influenced by his father, even though he didn't have a close relationship with him. And his son in Leo in the 1st house. Again, it's technically in the 1st house, but it's conjoined to that 2nd house cusp. And that points to his father being an influence with him playing sports. Leo being one of the signs dealing with sports. All right, let's get into his bodybuilding journey. Now, Schwarzenegger began weight training in 1960 when his football coach took his team to a local gym. At age 14, he chose bodybuilding over football as a career. He later said, I actually started weight training when I was 15, but I've been participating in sports like soccer for years. So I felt that although I was slim, I was well developed, at least enough so that I could start going to the gym and start Olympic lifting. Transiting Saturn in Aquarius in the 8th house. It was actually right on the 8th house cusp back in I think this was 1961 I pulled up, because he said at 15. But during that year, transiting Saturn was in the 8th house opposing his sun in Leo. So that basically prompted him to start going into the gym and lifting weights. However, his official website biography claims that at 14, he started an intensive training program with Dan Farmer, studied psychology at 15 to learn more about the power of the mind over body. And at 17, officially started his competitive career. During a speech in 2001, he said, my own plan formed when I was 14 years old. My father had wanted me to be a police officer like he was. My mother wanted me to go to trade school. So, you know, a lot of people always talk about, oh, the 4th house is the mom, 10th house is the dad, or it could be either or. I always go with the 4th house being the father, 10th house being the mother, which is the traditional approach to astrology when it comes to identifying the parents. And Arnold is very clear in that he has Virgo on the 4th house cusp, 4th house being the father. Virgo rules cops, and his father was a cop. So there it is right there. So Arnold's Jupiter at the 17th degree of Scorpio in the 5th, ruling the 10th. So remember, it says that he basically, at 17, he started his competitive career. So that's the epitome of Jupiter at the 17th degree of Scorpio in the 5th house. 5th house is competition. 10th house is career. In 1970, at age 23, Schwarzenegger captured his first Mr. Olympia title in New York and would go on to win the title 7 times. So him basically holding on to that title is Mercury conjoined to ascendant in Cancer, trine Jupiter in Scorpio. Because again, Cancer is tenacious. Cancer will hold on to something until they can't no longer. And once he got that title, he was like, I'm not letting this go. He did, I think it was 1 year where he didn't win, but then he came back the following year and then won for the 7th time. All right, y'all let me know when you can see the next slide. It's Arnold in his black bikini. All right, I see it. Okay, so here he is right here posing for a gay magazine. So in 1977, he posed for the gay magazine After Dark. That's dealing with his Mars conjunct Uranus, because that is basically representing gay men. In Gemini, Gemini rules magazines, and then Uranus rules the 8th house, sex. So although Arnold is not gay, he posed for a gay magazine. And that basically just shows how ambitious and determined he was to become successful in some way, shape, or form, to become famous, you know, being a Leo, the Leo in fame and that whole vanity thing. And I'm sure Arnold has been hit on all his life by gay men. So that also can point to that as well. Has he done some gay stuff? Maybe he did back in the day, but I do believe that he's pretty much a heterosexual, despite posing for a gay male magazine. So here he is speaking about back in the day when he posed for the gay magazine. He said, I posed for a gay magazine, which caused much comment, but it doesn't bother me. Gay people are fighting the same kind of stereotype that bodybuilders are. People have certain misconceptions about them just as they do about us. You know, my dad back in the day, he told me, my dad being an Aquarius, he told me, he was like, yeah, most bodybuilders are gay. And he was like, because they love to look at themselves and they're attracted to what they are. And I was like, Now, I don't know if most bodybuilders are gay, but I wouldn't be surprised if probably like maybe 40%, 40 to 50, I'll say between 40 and 60% probably are. And actually, it's men that like that are more attracted to that big bodybuilder frame than even women. A lot of us women, we don't have this big desire to get with a man that's all, you know, roided up or ripped up and muscle bound and all that stuff. Usually it's men that like that look. So it makes sense. I've never really liked a guy that, you know, I mean, I like a guy with muscles, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have to have a bodybuilder frame for me to be, you know, into him like that. And again, that's more so men appreciating that type of frame. Yep, basically, literally. All right, moving along. Palace said I prefer dad bods. Hey, some women do. Whatever floats your boat. Chief said the professional wrestling scene is run by powerful gay men. I wouldn't be surprised. All right, brother's death. So Arnold lost his brother back in 1971. So Schwarzenegger's brother Maynard died in a car crash on May 20th of 1971. He was driving drunk and died instantly. So that's Mars conjunct Uranus in the 12th house is the drunk, Gemini is the driving, but Gemini also rules siblings as well. So when you put these two together, that's his brother driving drunk with Uranus ruling that 8th house and basically dying as a result. And Mars in Gemini, quincunx Jupiter in Scorpio. Basically, you could say that Arnold might have learned from that situation and maybe vowed not to start, drink and drive himself. But I don't think Arnold and his brother were that close at all. He didn't attend his funeral, I'll tell you that. I don't think he attended his father's funeral either. Now, he is tied with Phil Heath for the joint second number of all-time Mr. Olympia wins, behind Ronnie Coleman and Lee Haney, who are joint first with 8 wins each. I know about Ronnie Coleman. He has messed his body up from going too hard at the gym. And now he basically can barely walk. He's had all these surgeries on his back. I watched a documentary about him. He's one of those like huge bodybuilders. He even became a cop. Justin said the men's physique division in IFBB is what I aspire to be like, fit and toned. I feel like you're already there, though. You could go compete right now. You said men's physique is not those big, huge ass monstrous physiques like what you're talking about. Yeah. And again, like, I don't think it's very attractive. And it looks like they're in pain all the time. Now, he is widely regarded as one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time and has written many books and articles about it. So that's his South Node in Scorpio, trine Pisces, midheaven. Also Jupiter in Scorpio, trine Mercury, and ascendant in Cancer. But also moon in Capricorn, sextile Chiron in Scorpio. So all of these aspects go into him being one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. Schwarzenegger was acknowledged using, or has acknowledged using, performance enhancing anabolic steroids while they were legal, writing in 1977 that steroids were helpful to me in maintaining muscle size while on a strict diet in preparation for a contest. I did not use them for muscle growth, but rather for muscle maintenance when cutting up. He has called the drugs tissue building. So basically, he has Jupiter in Scorpio, trine Mercury, and ascendant in Cancer, which could manifest as performance enhancing drugs. Injections in particular, with the Scorpio influence. Mars conjunct Uranus in Gemini, with Uranus ruling that 8th house, can come into play as well. That 12th house being certain drugs, Uranus ruling that 8th house could be injections. Now, in 1999, Schwarzenegger sued Will Heapy, a German doctor who publicly predicted his early death on the basis of a link between his steroid use and later heart problems. Since the doctor never examined him personally, Schwarzenegger collected a $10,000 libel judgment against him in a German court. In 1999, Schwarzenegger also sued and settled with Globe, a U.S. tabloid which had made similar predictions about the bodybuilder's future health. So people were basically predicting that he was going to die from heart problems, and he ended up suing them for it. So that's Mars in Gemini. That's people talking shit about him. Basically, the libel. Quincunx Jupiter in Scorpio. That's basically them trying to predict his death. Business ventures. Now, as a result of his early business and investment success, Schwarzenegger became a millionaire by the age of 25, well before making a name for himself in Hollywood. His path to financial independence came as a result of his success as a proactive businessman and investor involved with a series of lucrative business ventures and real estate investments. Leo rules investments, and with Arnold's son on his second house cusp, makes a lot of sense that he made a lot of money via investments. Also, the real estate comes in through Venus and Cancer. Cancer rules real estate, sextile Taurus North Node, trine Scorpio South Node. Also, Moon in Capricorn, sextile Chiron and Scorpio. That's his business ventures that dealt with the lucrative investments. With the Chiron influence, that's kind of letting me know that he had the inside scoop with certain investments. Jupiter in Scorpio, trine Mercury, and ascendant in Cancer. That's also representing his real estate investments, with Jupiter being in the fifth house. Fifth house is investments, and the Cancer influence is real estate. And again, like I said, he has his sun on the second house cusp in Leo. That's money through investments, but it's also money through acting. In this case, it's dealing with investments. Sextile Neptune in the fourth. Fourth house is real estate. All right, let's get into his film career now. Let me know when you see the next slide. I'll wait. Let me see what y'all are saying. Hey, Golden Owl. Palace said, I would sue too if people are speaking on my early demise. I would too. That's ridiculous. That's sad. Called Sid said Arnie definitely felt guilty of his father's past. Yeah, and it shows in his chart. Yep. All right, pumping iron. From Gold's Gym in Venice Beach, California, to the showdown in Pretoria, amateur and professional bodybuilders prepare for the 1974 Mr. Olympia and Mr. Universe contest. In this part scripted, part documentary film, the five-time champion Arnold Schwarzenegger defends his Mr. Olympia title against Sergey Nubret and the shy young deaf Lou Ferrigno. Lou Ferrigno was the Incredible Hulk, whose father is his coach. The ruthless champ psychs out the young lion. Now, South Node in Scorpio, trine Pisces, midheaven. That's representing the pumping iron film documentary, you could say. I've been meaning to watch it. I still haven't gotten around to watch it. All right, let me know when you can see the next image. Hey, Blazing. I'll be dreaming, dreaming, hoping, baby, you will be there. Okay, who was that? All right, I see the next image. All right, Conan the Barbarian. Now, I've seen the second Conan, Conan the Destroyer, but I never saw Conan the Barbarian. Beyond the mist of time, having witnessed the brutal death of his blacksmith father and the massacre of the entire village by the murderous followers of Thulsa Doom, the undead evil wizard and servant of the serpent god Set, Conan, the orphan young Cimmerian, is condemned to a life of slavery, chained to the perpetual wheel of pain. The helpless boy grows into a man, and after years of rigorous training as a fierce gladiator, Conan, now an unstoppable mountain of muscle, regains his precious freedom. But with the image of this blood-soaked raid etched on his mind, Conan teams up with the Subutai, the Hyrcanian thief, and Valeria, the queen of the bandits, and embarks on a peril-laden journey to the mysterious mountain of power and the impregnable snake cult temple. Will Conan avenge his parents? Here's Arnold looking all nice and oiled up and tanned up in here. So when actors play in movies, they're basically playing out their chart. So every movie that they've played in, you will see the aspects in their chart, the placements that are dealing with those roles that they have played, which makes me really think about how people say that actors, like a lot of actors, are crazy. If you think about it, I would think it would make you kind of crazy. Like, think about you living out your chart just on a personal level, right? And then you live out your chart in different ways through the different roles that you're playing in these films. After a while, I could see how it could be easy to lose touch with yourself if you don't have a strong inner core where you are confident, you're sure of who you are. Because again, most of us, we just live our lives as who we are on a personal level. You know, this is my chart. This is the aspects that I'm working with. But with each role that an actor plays, they are activating certain parts of their chart that wouldn't be activated if they were just a regular person, if you get what I'm saying. So I could see how some actors can kind of lose touch with who they really are the more they be in these films. So Mars conjunct Uranus and Gemini in the 12th. The Conan movies were very mystical, dealing with like magic and sorcery and all that. So that 12th house is dealing with that. And then they talked about he was basically chained to the perpetual wheel of pain. That's dealing with Mars and Gemini, Gemini being the will, quincunx Jupiter and Scorpio. So Jupiter and Scorpio can deal with torture. So that's representing that wheel of pain. And then Jupiter and Scorpio squaring Saturn and Pluto and Leo, basically him coming up against these dark forces and having to triumph over them. All right, moving along. The Golden Owl said people kind of get possessed by the characters they play. Yup. I was watching an interview with Terrence Howard, and he was basically talking about, yeah, you have to let the character basically possess you. And other actors have talked about that as well. And I think that's kind of scary. So yeah, if you don't have a strong sense of self, I could see how being an actor could make you go a little cuckoo. All right, let's talk about his U.S. citizenship. Schwarzenegger became a naturalized U.S. citizen on September 17th, 1983. Shortly before he gained his citizenship, he asked the Austrian authorities for the right to keep his Austrian citizenship. As Austria does not usually allow dual citizenship, his request was granted, and he retained his Austrian citizenship. So he was a dual citizen. So on the day that he became a U.S. citizen, the transiting moon was in Aquarius and it was opposing his sun in Leo, which is very apropos for gaining your citizenship. Also, the transiting sun was right on his fourth house cusp, otherwise known as the IC, and it was opposing the midheaven. The fourth house deals with citizenship, it deals with nationality. And the transiting North Node was right on his Mars in Gemini in the 12th, and Gemini is basically representing his green card. But also the dual citizenship as well is coming through the transiting Chiron in Gemini, quincunx moon in Capricorn. That's basically him getting around the whole rule about the not allow Austria not allowing the dual citizenship, but he was able to make it happen. And then transiting Neptune in Sagittarius, quincunx Venus in Cancer. Transiting South Node in Sagittarius, quincunx Cancer ascendant. These quincunxes, again, are representing how he had to go through a few hoops with the Austrian government in order to retain his status, even though he became a U.S. citizen. So he had a lot going on transit-wise dealing with this citizenship. So if anybody is looking to change their citizenship, look for, like, usually you'll see a number of transits working on your chart or like affecting your chart. And a lot of times Cancer, the sign Cancer will be involved, or your fourth house will be involved. The sign Sagittarius could be involved, just in case anybody wants to relocate to another country and you're trying to figure out when. You can look and see when certain transits are coming up dealing with some of these signs. And especially if you see a planet that's about to enter your fourth house, usually it'll be an outer planet that is entering your fourth house, or it could be opposing your fourth house cusp, and that can deal with your citizenship change as well. And then he had transiting Black Moon Lilith in Aquarius, trining his Mars in Gemini. All right. So Conan the Destroyer, this is where I first became introduced to Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I love this movie because I love anything dealing with like fantasy, magic, mysticism, wizardry, all that type of stuff. And all of that was in these Conan movies. And then you had Wilt Chamberlain in this movie as well. Wilt was a basketball player, very tall man. You had Grace Jones in this movie as well. So this movie is very entertaining. If you haven't watched it and you like mystical, magical, fantasy type movies, definitely want to watch Conan the Destroyer. It really, there's really not a dull moment in the movie. So Neptune conjunct Diadem. Diadem is a star that basically could deal with a head ornament that you wear around your head. It's basically called the wreath of jewels in one's hair. And that's basically representing what Arnold had on for this film. Now, Conan the Destroyer came out in 1984, and it says the wandering barbarian Conan, alongside his goofy rogue pal Malak, are tasked with escorting Queen Taramis' virgin niece, Princess Gehenna, and her bodyguard Bambata to a mystical island fortress. They must retrieve a magical crystal that will help them procure the horn that legends say can awaken the god of dreams, Dagoth. Along the way, Conan reunites with the wise wizard, Akiro, and befriends the fierce female fighter, Zula, played by Grace Jones. Together, the heroes face ancient traps, powerful wizards, plots of betrayal, and even the dream god, Dagoth himself. I feel like this is Arnold at his best right here in terms of the way he looked. And I just love this image of him and Grace Jones together. Like, I'm just like, that is just like strength right there. Warrior woman, warrior man. Oh, yeah. I loved her in this movie. She was really good. She had high energy. She gave it her all, basically. And I wouldn't be surprised if Arnold personally chose Grace Jones to be his co-actor, because he got a little thing for the brown sugar. Now, Mercury in Cancer conjoined to Ascendant in Cancer, trine Jupiter in Scorpio, Mars conjunct Uranus in Gemini in the 12th, Saturn conjunct Hecate, Hecate dealing with magic, witchcraft, spells, all of that. Here's another image of Arnold holding Grace Jones. So this is Moon in Capricorn in the 6th house, sextile Chiron in Scorpio. So this is Zula, played by Grace Jones. And again, Conan is holding her up. And with this Moon in Capricorn, this is basically Zula, Grace Jones' character, Black woman, because that Moon in Capricorn is representing a Black woman. So again, I always got to explain myself, because some people like to get crazy over the race thing. So Capricorn rules the sign black, the color black. So if the word black comes up in conversation or in themes, Moon is woman. So Moon in Capricorn can represent a Black woman. So this Moon came into play with the Conan movie because Zula, Grace Jones' character, Black woman, aids Conan. That's her aiding him with the Moon in the 6th. After he frees her of her chains, plays a key supporting role, and that supporting role is the Chiron in Scorpio. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if he purposely chose Grace Jones simply because she was Black. All right, let's move on. Terminator, one of my favorite movies of all time. I watched it recently. I done seen the Terminator so many times, it's ridiculous. I can like quote the movie verbatim. But some of the famous lines, of course, is "I'll be back." And "You're a Terminator, fucker." And then what did Reese say? He was like, "That's what he does. That's all he does." And then Reese also said, he's like, "Then why am I talking to you?" Oh, I love that movie. That movie keeps you on the edge of your seat. And then remember in the beginning, he was like, "Your clothes, give them to me," when he's butt-ass naked. And then even just the intro of the movie, oh my God, it sets you up. It just gives you this impending doom. So it says, sent back from a dystopian 2029. 2029 is almost here, y'all. Where the coal machines have conquered the entire world, to 1984 Los Angeles, the indestructible cyborg assassin known as the Terminator commences his deadly mission to kill humankind's most important woman, the unsuspecting Sarah Connor. However, from the same war-torn post-apocalyptic future comes a battle-scarred defender, Kyle Reese, a brave soldier of the Human Resistance Army, bent on stopping the cybernetic killer from eliminating the world's last hope. But the Terminator has no feelings. He doesn't sleep. And above all, he won't stop until he carries out his grim task. Does our future lie in our past? So the Terminator, very much Jupiter in Scorpio, square Saturn and Pluto in Leo, but also Mars conjunct Uranus in Gemini, because he was a cyborg. He was a cybernetic killer, which is that Mars conjunct Uranus, dealing with high tech level type of weaponry, very much Mars conjunct Uranus, dealing with the future, Mars conjunct Uranus. Also, Mars in Gemini, quincunx Jupiter in Scorpio. That's basically where the Terminator keeps coming back. You shoot him, you put a bunch of holes in him, and he gets up and he keeps going. He's not going to stop until Sarah is dead. All right, more about the Terminator. Again, he said, I'll be back. So the cleaning man at the flop house, hey, buddy, you got a dead cat in there or what? Also, these are some of the taglines. So this part right here, I forgot. So there's a part of the movie where the Terminator is in his room that he rented, and he's getting ready to go out to try to find Sarah Connor again. And the guy, I guess he's the cleaning man, he says, hey, buddy, you got a cat in there or what? A dead cat in there or what? So the Terminator, he starts searching his computer database inside his head for the right response. So it says yes, no, or what, go away, please come back later. And then he says, fuck you, you asshole. So the Terminator says, fuck you, asshole. Now, Kyle Reese says, listen and understand. That Terminator is out there. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear. And it absolutely will not stop ever until you are dead. That's that Mars and Gemini, quincunx, Jupiter, and Scorpio. Again, keeps coming back with a vengeance. Also, Jupiter and Scorpio square Saturn, Pluto, and Leo. Mars conjunct Uranus in Gemini. All right, let's get into the next film. This is another movie of Arnold's that I love, Commando, 1985. Now, I didn't put Terminator 2 in here because I really didn't care for the sequel to the first Terminator. I even I tried to watch Terminator 2 like a few weeks ago, and I couldn't even get through it because I was just like, this is stupid. The main reason why I felt like it was stupid was because the little kid, I forget what his name is. Well, it's John Connor, but I forget what the actor's name is. But anyway, he kept saying, you can't go around killing people. And I'm like, well, that's what the Terminator is. So I felt like Terminator 2 was a bit cheesy. But here is Commando. Here he is with his supporting actress, Radon Chong. Are y'all seeing the connection with the women of color, the Black women that he chose? And again, I think he purposely chose Radon Chong because these actors, a lot of times they can choose who they want to be their co-star. So I wouldn't be surprised if he did purposely choose Radon Chong to be his co-star in this film because he has a thing for Black women. Now, a retired special agent named John Matrix led an elite unit and has left the armed forces to live in a secluded mountain home with his daughter, Jenny. But now he is forced out of retirement when his daughter is kidnapped by a band of thugs intent on revenge. Unbeknownst to Matrix, the members of his former unit are being killed one by one. Even though Matrix friend General Franklin Kirby gives Matrix armed guards, attackers manage to kidnap Matrix and Jenny. Matrix learns that a warlord called Arius wishes to lead a military coup in his home country. If Matrix refuses to help him out, Jenny will die. So his daughter being at risk for death is Jupiter and Scorpio squaring Saturn and Pluto and Leo. Also, him being set up is Moon in Capricorn square Neptune and Libra. And then Mars conjunct Uranus and Gemini. That's the whole helicopter part in that beginning of the film. All right, next. Let me know when you can see the next slide. Roma said, I love the connections the action stars from this area have. Michael Biehn, who played Reitz, was in one of my favorite movies, Aliens with Sigourney Weaver. I love Aliens. All right, so you can see The Running Man. That's another one I really liked of Arnold's. So a parody within an action thriller. Ben Richards is an innocent man who was sentenced to the Running Man game show, a futuristic audience participation capital punishment television show. While Ben is running from champions with chainsaws and sharpened hockey sticks, the host is busy with calls to the network about ratings. A game a game nobody survives, but Schwarzenegger has yet to play. So this is very much dealing with Mars and Uranus and Gemini squaring Pisces midheaven, because he was framed. He was set up and made to seem like he killed all those people when he didn't. And remember, he was in a helicopter at the time, and Uranus rules helicopters. Mars and Gemini quincunx Jupiter and Scorpio. That's basically him having to go through that obstacle course to try to survive. And then Jupiter and Scorpio squaring Saturn and Pluto and Leo. That's basically him beating the running man game, Leo ruling games. And then you see where it says a game nobody survives. That's Saturn and Pluto and Leo. That's the game nobody survives. But then here comes Arnold, represented by that Jupiter and Scorpio, where he's able to beat the game. And at the end, he sends the host, played by Richard Dawson, who used to be the host of the Family Feud. He sends him down the chute to his death. All right, next, one of my favorite movies by Arnold. Let me see when y'all see let me know when you see the next slide. Look at those guns. And I don't mean the ones he got in his hand. I'm talking about them guns, them arms. Woo! Touch me in the morning, then just walk away. All right, I see it. Now, a team of special force ops, led by a tough but fair soldier, Major Dutch Shriver, are ordered to assist CIA man Colonel Al Dillon on a rescue mission for the potential survivors of a helicopter downed over a remote South American jungle. Not long after they land, Dutch and his team discover that they have been sent in under false pretenses. This deception turns out to be the least of their worries, though, when they find themselves being methodically hunted by something not of this world. So, of course, this movie is dealing with this Mars-Uranus conjunction, because the predator was an alien, and Uranus rules aliens. So this Mars conjunct Uranus in Gemini, this is like hunting an alien, or you could say where the alien is the predator. Basically, that's the epitome of that conjunction in relation to this movie. The 12 houses representing that they're in the jungle. Mars and Gemini, quincunx Jupiter and Scorpio, that's them attempting to try to capture or kill this predator. Moon in Capricorn, squaring Neptune and Libra, that's where they were basically sent there under false pretenses. They were set up. He's been in a number of movies where he's been under false pretenses or where he's been set up. Mars and Uranus and Gemini squaring Pisces midheaven, that's them basically being subjected to the jungle, being lost, being confused, not knowing where they're going, not knowing what's out there. In a part of the world where there are no rules, deep in the jungle where nothing that lives is safe, an elite rescue squad is being led by the ultimate warrior, but now they are up against the ultimate enemy. Nothing like it has been on Earth before. It kills for pleasure, it hunts for sport, but this time it picked the wrong man to hunt. So again, it's dealing with these aspects that I spoke of. And my favorite line of that movie is when he says, if it bleeds, we can kill it. And I use a variation of that saying for astrology. I'm like, once you know the beast, you can kill the beast. Meaning, once you know what a person's working with in their chart, you can deal with them effectively. Not meaning you can actually kill them, but you know what I mean. Like, once you understand what somebody's working with astrologically, then you can deal with that person much more effectively. If it bleeds, we can kill it. You're damn right. This is another scene that I love in this movie where he falls into the water. He climbs out of the water, and now he's covered in mud as a result of trying to get up this slippery hill. And then this is where the predator is staring him down. Well, no, the predator's not staring him down. He's staring the predator down because the predator is looking for him. But because he's camouflaged in that mud, the predator can't see him because he's blending in with the background. If you've never seen Predator, definitely watch it. It's a really good film. It will keep you on the edge of your seats. Now, the film provided a variety of hardships for the actors, such as leeches, snakes, stifling humidity, heat, and rough terrain. All of the night scenes were filmed during freezing cold temperatures, which was especially hard on Arnold during the latter half of the film, when the mud he had to wear, which was actually pottery clay, became cold and wet. He was warned it would take his body temperature down a few degrees, and he shivered nonstop. Even when they tried to heat him with lamps, it just made the clay dry out. He tried drinking Jaeger tea, a schnapps mixture, to warm him, but that just got him drunk. So the ordeal that he had to go through while he's filming the Predator movie is dealing with Moon and Capricorn in the 6th house. That's making him cold. And then he's getting drunk because he's trying to warm himself off of the Jaeger tea. And that's represented by that Neptune in Libra. And this just goes to show that acting is not easy. Some people think that actors have it easy. Oh, all they have to do is show up and say some lines. No, like, being an actor, they put you through a lot, especially when it comes to these action films, these thrillers, horror films, and things like that. Like, think about what that, what's her face? Why can't I think of her name? But the chick that played in the Shining, Shelley Duvall. In the making of the Shining movie, she said that they put her through absolute hell. And she was traumatized as a result of having to act in that movie. So it happens. Like, these actors are put through hell a lot of times just so that they can get the perfect scene. So I do give actors credit because I know I couldn't do it. And I do believe that they deserve the money that they get, because the movie houses, they are making millions upon millions of dollars off of these films. So these actors, they do need to be compensated accordingly. All right, let's get into the next film. Now, I haven't seen this film. I need to check it out when I have some free time. I know some of y'all have probably seen it, but this is Twins, featuring Danny DeVito, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Has anybody seen the movie Twins? This came out in 1988. So Twins, Julius and Vincent Benedict, are the results of an experiment that would allow for the perfect child. Julius was planned and grows to athletic proportions. Vincent is an accident and is somewhat smaller in stature. Vincent is placed in the orphanage while Julius is taken to a South Seas island and raised by philosophers. Vincent becomes the ultimate lowlife and is about to be killed by loan sharks when Julius discovers that he has a brother and begins looking for him. Now, the plot sounds pretty interesting. I might want to watch this at some point. But this whole Twins is his Mars conjunct Uranus and Gemini, with Gemini ruling Twins. But the Uranus part is pointing to the fact that they were part of an experiment, because Uranus rules experiments. So that is really clever. And then the fact that his brother is a lowlife and he is about to get killed by loan sharks, that's Mars in Gemini, quincunx Jupiter in Scorpio. Also, Mercury conjunct ascendant in Cancer is pointing to the twin theme as well. All right. The next movie that was released in 1988 that starred Arnold Schwarzenegger was Red Heat. And I remember watching this film when it came out. I don't think I saw it in the movie theaters, but I think I saw it on cable when it came out on cable like 6 months later. But yeah, Red Heat is pretty good. And I did watch it recently again. It features Jim Belushi. And Jim Belushi is funny as hell. I don't know what happened to him. It just seemed like after the 90s, he just fell off and stopped acting. But Jim Belushi was funny as hell. I always feel like he was funnier than his brother, John Belushi. But anyway, Red Heat is a good film, and it's starring Arnold, where he's playing this Russian cop that comes to the United States who's looking for this Russian criminal. So with his partner fallen in the line of duty, hard-as-nail Soviet police officer Captain Ivan Danko is dispatched to Chicago, Illinois. And like a fish out of water, Danko arrives in the drug kingpin Victor Rostavali to Russia. Arrives in the United States to find and extradite the ruthless Georgian drug kingpin Victor Rostavili to Russia. But as Donko teams up with easygoing Sergeant Art Rizik, two worlds collide. Now the challenging case becomes deadly by the minute, threatening not only the reluctant comrades' uneasy alliance, but also the outcome of the investigation. As bullets fly and people die left and right, can Moscow's toughest and Chicago's finest put their differences aside in the name of justice? Now, I feel like we need more cops like the cop that Arnold played in America, but unfortunately, because of body cams, these cops can't really treat these criminals like how they want to. Now, granted, these body cams can be good to a certain extent because it can expose police brutality. But I feel like, because I watch a lot of police cam videos, just to let y'all know. With my moon in Capricorn, Capricorn rising, I love police cam videos. And what I've noticed is because of these body cams, these police are softer on people now. And now things get really out of hand more easily because these cops keep giving people chance after chance. Like they might be like, all right, get out. Like I was watching this cop video the other day and they were trying to evict this lady. And, you know, cops show up. She's just sitting on the floor. She's not moving. And they keep on telling her, come on, you got to get up. You got to get up. Back in the day, they would have told her once. If she would have got up, they would have yanked her up and dragged her up out of there. But because of the body cams, now they drag shit out because they don't want a lawsuit on their hands, which would happen a lot of times just by, you know, treating a criminal the way they should be treated if they're resisting arrest. But anyway, Moon in Capricorn and semi-square Jupiter and Scorpio is pointing to this movie. Jupiter in Scorpio square Saturn and Pluto in Leo. Mars conjunct Uranus in Gemini. That's him feeling like a fish out of water. Mars in Gemini quincunx Jupiter in Scorpio. That's just dealing with all the ins and outs of this movie, dealing with the crime ring and all that type of stuff. Next, we have Total Recall. So Total Recall is another good film. It's one of those films that's like really kind of mind-bending, and it can get kind of tedious towards the middle of the film, but like the beginning part of the film going all the way up to, I'll probably say like an hour into it, really will keep you on the edge of your seat. So Douglas Quaid is haunted by a recurring dream about a journey to Mars. He hopes to find out more about this dream and buys a holiday at Recall Incorporated, where they sell implanted memories. But something goes wrong with the memory implantation, and he remembers being a secret agent fighting against the evil Mars administrator, Cohagen. So this is a movie where they are traveling back and forth to Mars. So the whole cosmos and all that stuff going like on a spaceship, Mars conjunct Uranus and Gemini. Moon in Capricorn squared Neptune and Libra. That's basically him being deceived and also having his memory erased. Moon square Neptune can actually erase memories. And this is also dealing with Sharon Stone's character, where she was basically a spy and she was trying to fake like she was his wife in the beginning, and then come to find out that she's working for the opposition and all that stuff. And then Moon in Capricorn, semi-square Jupiter and Scorpio. Mercury conjunct ascendant in Cancer as well. The Cancer influence is representing the memory theme as well. Moon in Capricorn, semi-square Jupiter and Scorpio is representing the implant that was implanted in his brain that dealt with the memory being artificially induced in him. All right. More about Total Recall. It says, how would you know if someone stole your mind? How would you know after memory implantation if your mind is yours? They stole his mind. Now he wants it back. Get ready for the ride of your life. So Mars conjunct Uranus and Gemini. That's the stealing of the mind. Moon in Capricorn square Neptune and Libra. Again, that's the memories being erased. And then Moon in Capricorn, semi-square Jupiter in Scorpio, that's the implant that is producing those false memories. And then again, Mercury conjunct ascendant in Cancer, that's the memory theme. All right, let me know when you see the next slide. Palace says, sounds like my life. This is another movie I haven't seen of his. I do like the versatility that Arnold has when it comes to movies. So that deals with his Mars conjunct Uranus and Gemini in the 12th house, how he could be versatile when it comes to films, because this was totally apart from what he was usually starring in, to be in a movie like Kindergarten Cop, a comedy. Now he was in Twins too in 1988, and then later he came out with Kindergarten Cop in 1990. After numerous fruitless attempts, the veteran LAPD detective John Kimball has one last chance to put behind bars once and for all the elusive drug kingpin Colin Crisp, who is trying to find the whereabouts of his son and his ex-wife who run away with millions of dollars. In high hopes of picking up clues, the massive officer finds himself at a bustling elementary school in Astoria, Oregon, posing as the substitute kindergarten teacher. However, to keep up the ruse without blowing his cover, John must keep under control a noisy classroom full of intimidating 5-year-old adversaries. Can Kimball now show them who's boss? So Jupiter in Scorpio squares Saturn and Pluto in Leo. Jupiter contra parallel Hebe. Mars in Gemini quincunx Jupiter in Scorpio. The Gemini theme representing him being in a school and operating undercover. The Hebe theme is representing the children, especially because it's at the 8th degree of Leo. Saturn and Pluto in Leo is representing the intimidating children that they spoke of. Here's another good movie that I really enjoy, and I think I'm going to watch it again maybe this weekend. Let me know when y'all see the next slide. Arnold has been in a number of movies. I'm pretty sure he's retired at this point in terms of movies, but I don't know. Maybe we'll see him again. All right. Has anybody seen End of Days? I found this to be really interesting that they put this movie out in 1999, because remember when they were trying to get everybody scared about Y2K, and then movies like this, wasn't The Matrix in 1999 too? They was really trying to scare us back then. So it says on December 28th, 1999, the citizens of New York City are getting ready for the turn of the millennium. However, the devil decides to crash the party by coming to the city, inhabiting a man's body and searching for his chosen bride, a 20-year-old woman named Christine York. If he bears her child between 11 p.m. and midnight on New Year's Eve, see, because you got to get the birth chart right, the world will end, and the only hope lies within an atheist ex-cop named Jericho Kane, who no longer believes in God because of the murder of his wife and daughter. So this is Moon in Capricorn squaring Neptune in Libra. This is basically representing the fear that is basically being generated in his character, Arnold's character. Also, him basically dealing with confusion, the supernatural themes as well. And then Moon in Capricorn, semi-square Jupiter and Scorpio. Keep in mind that Capricorn rules the devil. Saturn does too. Now I got to kind of get on my soapbox real quick, if y'all don't mind. So I would say probably like last month, somebody wrote a comment on one of my videos. I think it was the Sun opposition Saturn video. And this person, with all this confidence, basically wrote, Saturn doesn't rule the devil. And she was just like, Saturn rules Father Time. And then I responded, I was like, no, Saturn rules Father Time and the devil. Now, you could say the whole rulership of the devil is on an esoteric level, and of course, not everybody believes in the devil, but Saturn basically is the planetary personification of the devil. Saturn rules Capricorn. Capricorn is the devil. It even shows it in the tarot deck with the devil card representing Capricorn. I didn't make this stuff up. It's true. So for the person that wanted to go toe to toe with me about Saturn ruling the devil, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you're just about the surface knowledge when it comes to astrology. But yeah, on an esoteric and spiritual level, when you want to talk about forces, God would be Jupiter and Saturn would be Satan or the devil. And even the mythology of Saturn, with Saturn eating his children, Satanists do that to this day. Not all Satanists, not your whitewashed Satanists, not your watered down Satanists, but your hardcore Satanists, the ones that rule the world, basically, they sacrifice children. They kill and eat children, and that's what Saturn did according to mythology. You also have the cult of Saturnalia. Saturnalia takes place during Capricorn season, principally on Christmas Day. So again, for that person that wanted to, challenge me and say that Saturn doesn't rule Satan and Saturn doesn't rule the devil, maybe in your world, if you don't believe in the devil and all that type of stuff, and the devil basically is just a personification of evil, but maybe if you don't subscribe to the whole devil belief, then I can see why you may not believe that Saturn has that rulership or correspondence, but it does, in fact. So I just wanted to put that out there. Yeah, Siobhan, there's a lot of misconceptions that are being peddled on the internet nowadays. It's just ridiculous. And I feel like part of my purpose is to help clear up these misconceptions. But again, do you see the Capricorn theme? And Arnold is in a movie dealing with the devil. Capricorn. So Moon in Capricorn, semi-square Jupiter in Scorpio. Jupiter in Scorpio square Saturn, conjunct Pluto in Leo. And then also Mercury and Ascendant opposition Black Moon Lilith in Capricorn, because that Black Moon Lilith in Capricorn is representing the devil's wife, or the woman that he's trying to impregnate. The devil is trying to impregnate in this case, and how he has to go up against the devil to try to save this woman and save the world. Siobhan said, it's these damn TikTok astrologers who read 2 books and been reading charts for like 3 months. Exactly. Blazin says, some people say that Scorpio doesn't rule Pluto. You mean Pluto rules Scorpio? Yeah, again, people, both Mars and Pluto rule Scorpio. But yeah, even though astrology is gaining popularity more and more nowadays, it seems like people are trying to either water it down, or they are just coming up with all of these misconceptions. And that's why I tend to stay off of Twitter and social media sites that are dedicated to astrology, because it makes me cringe when I see all these misconceptions. I'm just like, oh, but anyway. And then we had The Last Action Hero, 1993. I haven't seen this either, and I might want to check it out at some point. So young Danny Madigan is a huge fan of Jack Slater, a larger-than-life action hero played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. When his best friend Nick, the projectionist, gives him a magic ticket to the newest Jack Slater movie, Danny is transported into Slater's world, his #1 hero, where the good guys always win. It's a dream come true for Danny, but things take a turn for the worse when one of Slater's enemies, Benedict, the hitman, gets a hold of the ticket and ends up in Danny's world. Slater and Danny must join forces and travel back and stop him at all costs before it's the end of Jack Slater. So here's another film where this Mars, Uranus, and Gemini conjunction comes into play. In this case, is representing the boy that is the fan. And then the 12 houses representing the whole superhero theme. And then Mars and Gemini, quincunx, Jupiter, Scorpio is representing the enemy, the gangster that comes into Danny's world, the hitman. Oh my God, it's getting hot. All right, True Lies. That's another good movie. I need to watch this again. So True Lies came out in 1994. Features Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis. So this is a movie about spies and espionage and all that stuff. So it says Harry Tasker leads a double life. At work, he is a government agent with a license to do just about anything, while at home he pretends to be a dull computer salesman. He is on the trail of stolen nuclear weapons that are in the hands of fanatic terrorists. When something more important comes up, Harry finds his wife is seeing another man, Bill Paxton. Because she needs some adventure in her life, Harry decides to give it to her. juggling pursuit of terrorists on one hand and an adventure for his wife on the other hand. That's very Mars and Gemini, juggling two things at once, having a dual agenda. For his wife on the other, while showing he can tango all at once. So Jupiter in Scorpio, trine Pisces midheaven is dealing with this, but also Mars conjunct Uranus and Gemini, with Uranus ruling the 8th house. 8th house is dealing with espionage and also the terrorists. Mercury in Cancer, conjoined to the ascendant, opposition Black Moon Lilith. That's basically him finding out about his wife and playing her. As a result, Moon in Capricorn square Neptune in Libra. That's him finding out that his wife has a secret. His wife is deceptive, but also where he works to fool his wife as well. Moon in Capricorn semi-square Jupiter in Scorpio is also just representing the, who are we talking about? The fanatical terrorists. All right. Eraser is another film. This came out in 1996. Again, here he is with Black co-star Vanessa Williams. I'm sure he chose her personally. Now, U.S. Marshal Deputy John Kruger is one of the toughest marshals. His methods are to erase the identities of his witnesses he is assigned to protect. Meanwhile, a woman named Lee Cullen, who works for a corporation named Cyrez, performed an undercover job for the FBI to unveil a top secret weapon which uses an electromagnetic pulse to dispatch targets. Cyrez discovered this about Lee and are now out to kill her. Kruger's job is now to protect Lee so she could testify against Cyrez. So Mercury conjunct ascendant in Cancer, that's him basically embracing Vanessa Williams right here. Opposition Black Moon Lilith in Capricorn, that's the corporation that's out to get her. And he's basically her protector. Also, Mars conjunct Uranus in Gemini. This is representing, was this the case with the electromagnetic pulse, this high-tech weapon. Mars and Gemini quincunx Jupiter Scorpio is representing how they have to basically stick and move and maneuver their way out of this situation. All right. Justin, so you asked about Arnold being the governor of California. So now that we've covered his film career, his illustrious film career, let's get into his political career, which was very unlike, like a lot of people were surprised when Arnold became governor of California. We were like, wow, but this is what I mean about him being an Ubermensch. He started off being a bodybuilder. Then he was this actor in all of these top movies, and now he becomes governor of California. So that's what I mean about him being an Ubermensch. Does this mean that he's without flaws? Hell no. He's very flawed, but he's still embodying that Ubermensch spirit where he's not just confining himself to one avenue in life. He's basically trying to do it all in this lifetime. So Schwarzenegger announced his candidacy in the 2003 California recall election. So Justin, remember you asked, how in the hell did he become governor? So there's an aspect in his chart that is pointing to how he became governor, and the term recall election, that's the key term to keep in mind as to how he became governor. Now, the 2003 California gubernatorial recall election was a special election permitted under California state law. It resulted in voters replacing incumbent Democratic Governor Gray Davis with Republican Arnold Schwarzenegger. This was the first time in the history of California that this was ever done, where a governor is elected through a recall election. If you ask me, I believe Arnold bought his way into the government of California. Now, before the successful recall of Gray Davis, no California statewide official had ever been recalled, though there had been 117 previous attempts. So the fact that he was able to become governor through the recall election is seen through Moon in Capricorn, sextile Chiron, and Scorpio, because Chiron will produce situations where you are the exception to the rule, or it will produce exceptional circumstances, which is exactly what that recall election was. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if he paid his way into that office. Now, Governor Schwarzenegger played a significant role in opposing Proposition 66, a proposed amendment of the Californian Three Strikes Law in November 2004. This amendment would have required the third felony to be either violent or serious to mandate a 25 years to life sentence. And Arnold was like, oh no. In the last week before the ballot, Schwarzenegger launched an intense campaign against Proposition 66. He stated that it would release 26,000 dangerous criminals and rapists. So during this time when he was opposing that bill, transiting Pluto was in Sagittarius in his sixth house, and it was opposing his Mars in Gemini. Also transiting Neptune was in Aquarius, opposing his Pluto in Leo. Allegations of sexual misconduct. So during his initial campaign for governor in 2003, allegations of sexual and personal misconduct were raised against Schwarzenegger. Within the last 5 days before the election, news reports appeared in the Los Angeles Times recounting decades-old allegations of sexual misconduct from 6 individual women. Schwarzenegger responded to the allegations in 2004, admitting that he has behaved badly sometimes and apologized, but also stated that a lot of what you see in the stories is not true. One of the women who came forward was British television personality Anna Richardson, who settled a libel lawsuit in August 2006 against Schwarzenegger, his top aide, Sean Walsh, and his publicist, Cheryl Main. In 2023, Schwarzenegger revisited the issue while promoting his new 3-part biographical documentary on Netflix called Arnold. Schwarzenegger stated that he was totally wrong. So he has Venus in Cancer squaring Chiron in Scorpio. That's a dissociative square, but it's still a square nonetheless. And this is pointing to the allegations of sexual misconduct against women. He also has Moon in Capricorn squaring Neptune in Libra, which could cause him to lack boundaries when it comes to women, but it can also deal with where there's libel against him as well. Moon in Capricorn semi-square Jupiter in Scorpio. This can make it hard for him to exercise self-control around certain women. Moon conjunct Bacchus in Capricorn. This can show that he has an addiction for women and that this can interfere with him being able to work alongside women without him making things sexual. Also, Neptune opposition Lilith as well. This can deal with where he basically makes a woman feel vulnerable, or it can also deal with where there's a scandal involving a woman, especially one dealing with sex. Neptune contra parallel to Tisiphone. Tisiphone basically deals with where you are spanked or judged harshly for what you've done. All right, let's get into Arnold's love life. Love and romance. So his first girlfriend went by the name of, what's her name? Something Baker. I forget what her first name is. Maybe it's in here somewhere. But anyway, Schwarzenegger said of Baker in his 1977 memoir. Basically, it came down to this. She was a well-balanced woman who wanted an ordinary... I'm sorry, I thought I saw my daughter walking across. Who wanted an ordinary, solid life. And I was not a well-balanced man and hated the very idea of ordinary life. Baker has described Schwarzenegger as a joyful personality, totally charismatic, adventurous, and athletic, but claims that towards the end of the relationship, he became insufferable. Classically conceded the world revolved around him. Well, that's basically pointing to Moon in Capricorn, quincunx Sun in Leo. That's basically where a woman feels like she has to always take a back seat to him, and where she's more on the traditional end, more kind of reserved, and he's more so, look at me. I'm basically the center of the universe. The world revolves around me. Also, Mars conjunct Uranus in Gemini, with Uranus ruling the ninth. It rules the eighth and the ninth. And this conjunction is basically where he's a law unto himself. A man that has this conjunction, you're not going to be able to change him. You're not going to be able to control him. He's going to be who he wants to be. That can make him very willful. And also that conjunction also that deals with him not wanting to live an ordinary life, especially with Uranus ruling that ninth house. Now it says, although Baker claims that when she first met Schwarzenegger, he had little understanding of polite society, and she found him a turnoff. She says he's as much a self-made man as is possible to be. He never got encouragement from his parents, his family, his brother. He just had this huge determination to prove himself, and that was very attractive. I'll go to my grave knowing Arnold loved me. So Moon in Capricorn squaring Neptune in Libra, that's basically representing how she was saying that he had little understanding of polite society back then and how that kind of turned him off, especially with that moon being in the sixth house. Mercury and ascendant in Cancer opposing Black Moon Lilith in Capricorn is representing that as well. He then hooked up with his next lover, Sue Moray, on Venice Beach in July 1977, and she was a hairdresser. So according to Moray, the couple led an open relationship. We were faithful when we were both in LA, but when he was out of town, we were free to do whatever we wanted. So Pluto in Libra sextile Saturn, transiting Pluto. So when he met her in July 1977, transiting Pluto was in Libra, and it was forming a sextile with Saturn in Leo, which is a good transit to have for finding a new lover. Also, transiting Moon was on his Mercury and ascendant in Cancer. So while they don't have a date as to when they met, I wouldn't be surprised if they met on the 15th, because the transiting Moon was right on his Mercury and ascendant on that day. And then transiting Venus in Gemini, trine Neptune in Libra, that's another transit that can bring about a relationship. Okay, so here he is with a Black woman in his arms. And like I said, in Arnold's case, that moon in Capricorn is representing Black women amongst other things. So again, astrology is multi-layered. You can have one placement that is representing a number of things in a person's life. And this is a case where, yeah, you'll see this moon in Capricorn representing his dalliances with Black women. Something that really hasn't been publicized, but you can find a few pictures where he is basically loving on Black women. Now, I'm saying fetishizing Black women in particular, because he's never openly dated a Black woman. So I'm looking at this more as him I'm getting tongue-tied, fetishizing Black women. Don't she look like Donna Summer? Yeah, Earth Angel. She look like Donna Summer, don't she? Sexcapades with Black women. So that's what basically he's probably gotten into. And he might have been a Black woman sponsor or benefactor at some point. So this is pointing to Moon in Capricorn, sextile Chiron in Scorpio. And again, the reason why I'm saying fetishizing is because he's never openly dated a Black woman, and he never married a Black woman. And that's why I'm saying it might have been more so of a fetish for him. Moon conjunct Bacchus, that could deal with him being addicted to women of a darker hue in particular. Or Bacchus could just deal with having parties, revelry, having soirees, all that type of stuff. And I think this is a different woman. I don't think it's the same woman that he was carrying in the previous picture, but here is Arnold hugged up. And this is the real reason why I looked at this as fetishizing. Just look at Arnold's expression and the way he's grabbing her. Almost like, I'm trying to find the right words. But you get what I'm saying when you see this image. But basically, yeah, looked like Arnold was having the time of his life. Now, again, that moon in Capricorn, sextile, Chiron, and Scorpio can deal with where sexcapades with Black women, being a Black woman's sponsor or benefactor. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's done that a number of times. Kit Kat said, why was the sun much brighter back then? Because they weren't spraying the sky with all these chemicals back then, like they are now. Isn't that crazy? All right. Now here we go. Here he is with Maria Shriver. So this is the woman that he married. So Schwarzenegger met television journalist Maria Shriver, niece of President John F. Kennedy, at the Robert F. Kennedy tennis tournament. So remember I said astrology is multi-layered. So we could take the same moon in Capricorn and apply it to Maria Shriver. Why? Because she's the niece of President John F. Kennedy. So she has ties to a previous president, government ties, which is Capricorn. So on one hand, Capricorn moon can deal with a Black woman. On the other hand, the Capricorn moon could deal with a woman that has ties to the government, ties to government officials, ties to a previous president. So it says he went on to have a relationship with both Moray and Shriver until August 1978, when Moray, who knew of his relationship with Shriver, issued an ultimatum. So transiting Pluto and Libra, sesqui square North Node in Taurus. So during this time, August 1977, oh no, I think this was August 1978 when he was given that ultimatum. Also transiting Saturn in Virgo, trine Moon in Capricorn. That could be a long-term union with a woman. Transiting Uranus in Scorpio, squaring Saturn and Pluto in Leo. That's basically Shriver trying to shut down his player personality, his player days. But we see, as you'll see, he was still down to play the field, even being married to Maria Shriver. All right, marriage to Maria. So Maria is a journalist, an author, and an activist. She is known by many as the NBC anchor and correspondent who is a niece to John Kennedy. She met Arnold Schwarzenegger in 1977 and they got married on April 26, 1986. Before they got married, Arnold was in an open relationship with Moray. So for a year after he met Maria, he kept on dating both ladies. Leo is known to be the player of the Zodiac, so I'm not surprised. Apparently, and he got Mars and Gemini, and a lot of times Mars and Gemini, they need more than one. So apparently he wanted Maria more because she gave him an ultimatum to either choose her only or leave. So transiting Mercury and Aries, trine Saturn and Leo. This is one of the transits that he had on the day he got married. Transiting Saturn and Sagittarius, sextile Neptune and Libra is another marriage transit. Also transiting Venus, conjunct North Node in Taurus. All right, let's get to the scandal. So while Arnold was married to Maria Shriver, he started an affair with his housekeeper. And when I was looking at the housekeeper, I was just like, damn, like she ain't that easy on the eyes. But anyway, but you know, sometimes if it's close to home and it's convenient, hey, they gonna do it. So on May 16, 2011, the Los Angeles Times revealed that Schwarzenegger had fathered a son, Joseph, more than 14 years earlier with an employee in their household, Mildred Patricia Patty Baina. Now, remember, I always say, astrology is multi-layered. So we could take that same moon in Capricorn, and in this case, it's representing Mildred Patricia Patty Baina because she was working for Arnold, which is moon in Capricorn in the 6th house. He also has Black Moon Lilith in Capricorn in the 7th house, which is representing her as well. Now, after leaving the governor's office, I told my wife about this event. which occurred over a decade ago, Schwarzenegger said to the Times. In the statement, Schwarzenegger did not mention that he had confessed to his wife only after she had confronted him with the information, which she had done after confirming with the housekeeper what she had suspected about the child. So on that day, the transiting South Node was conjoined to his Uranus in Gemini. That's basically where information is being leaked to the public, to the media, and where it's shocking with the Uranus influence. Transiting South Node in Gemini was squaring the Pisces midheaven. The secret is out. Transiting Pluto in Capricorn, quincunx Sun in Leo. Him basically facing condemnation, and also where shit becomes publicized about his housekeeper. Transiting Saturn in Libra, sextile Saturn and Pluto in Leo. This made me think that he was at least able to breathe a sigh of relief now that it's all out into the open about this child. And this chick, she thinks she's hot stuff. When y'all look at this next picture with her hand on her hip, she thinks she is, she thinks she hot. She like, I got Arnold. Look like she got some work done to her face and everything. Cause Arnold started supporting her and the boy once it was all out in the open, and once he was able to really confirm that that was his child, he didn't make any bones about it. He was supporting her and her son, and he bought her a house and all that stuff. But yeah, she thinks she missed it. Look at her. She like, yeah, that's right. She was like, I got him. What? Now, Rahbinah is of Guatemalan origin. So again, another woman of color that Arnold was sweet on. Now, Rahbinah is of Guatemalan origin. She was employed by the family for 20 years and retired in January 2011. So that means that she was pretty young when she was working for them. Now, the pregnant Rahbinah was working in the home while Shriver was pregnant with the youngest of the couple's 4 children. Rahbinah's son, with Schwarzenegger, was born 5 days after Shriver gave birth. So, wow, that's crazy. But anyway, Moon in Capricorn in the 6th, squaring Neptune in Libra. Neptune opposing Black Moon Lilith. I mean, no, that's not Black Moon. That's the asteroid Lilith in the 10th house. Mars conjunct Amor, secret love affair. Neptune opposing that Lilith, that's a scandal involving a woman that comes between him and his wife. And then Saturn conjunct Hecate. When I saw this, I was like, oh, I know what's up. I already know what's up. I think, and this is not to let Arnold off the hook, but I wouldn't be surprised because he got Saturn conjunct Hecate, and his Saturn's in Leo, and Leo deals with children, and Hecate deals with witchcraft, spells, magic. I wouldn't be surprised if she put a spell on him, like she did, like a love sex spell or whatever, was putting some shit in his food, which would have been very easy for her to do. And once I saw she was from Guatemala, I was like, oh yeah, she probably put some spell on him, Saturn conjunct Hecate, and next thing you know, they're in a love affair. He gets her pregnant. Boom, she has his child. And she was probably really stroking his ego too. Like, oh, Mr. Arnold, you're so big. You're so strong. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if she put the mojo on his ass. Even that Black Moon Lilith in the 7th house can kind of point to that as well, because that Black Moon Lilith can deal with somebody that is operating either under false pretenses or where they have some hidden agenda, or where it's basically a dark-sided individual that is opportunistic because it's in Capricorn. Now, it says on May 9th, 2011, Shriver and Schwarzenegger ended their relationship after 25 years of marriage, with Shriver moving out of their Brentwood mansion. So when they got divorced, transiting Uranus was squaring his moon in Capricorn, which is so apropos for divorces. Transiting moon was conjoined to his sun in Leo, and the transiting South Node was on his Uranus in Gemini. The transiting North Node in Sagittarius was forming a sesqui-square with his Saturn in Leo. And here is a picture of Arnold's son, the one that he had with the housekeeper. And you can see a resemblance between the two. So Schwarzenegger said that it took 7 or 8 years before he found out that he had fathered a child with his housekeeper. It was not until the boy started looking like him that he put things together. And that's dealing with Mars conjunct Siwa, because Siwa is an asteroid that deals with fertility. It deals with basically the creation of children. And Mars is dealing with his likeness, his identity. And that's basically him recognizing, oh, wow, that boy looks like me. Jupiter in Scorpio, contra parallel Hebe. That's dealing with the situation involving his son as well, especially in terms of the child support that he has to pay. And then Sun conjunct Valentine is basically representing a child that comes as a result of a love affair. So Schwarzenegger has taken financial responsibility for the child from the start and continued to provide support. KNX 1070 radio reported that in 2010, he bought a new 4-bedroom house with a pool for Rahbinah and their son in Bakersville, California. So again, Saturn conjunct Hecate in the 2nd house, conjunct Pluto, squared Jupiter in Scorpio. So him being on the hook as a result of his sexual indiscretions. But again, like I said, because of that Hecate influence, I wouldn't be surprised if she put a little mojo on him. She put a little spell, like put a little sign in his food, and next thing you know, they're humping on each other. And the reason why I'm also pointing to this is because at that time, when he was messing around with this woman, he could have had a number of different women that looked far better than this woman. But again, you could say, well, because she was always there and she was in close proximity. But I also know how some women can be as well, where they might seduce somebody that is very attractive, very rich. And there is a thing about love spells, lust spells, all of that. So I wouldn't be surprised if that did come into play, at least for him to let his guard down. Rahbinah separated from her husband, Rogelio, a few months after Joseph's birth. So she was married too. She filed for divorce in 2008. Rogelio said that the child's birth certificate was falsified and that he planned to sue Schwarzenegger for engaging in conspiracy to falsify a public document, a serious crime in California. So basically, the issue with the birth certificate can be seen through Mars conjunct Amor in Gemini, quincunx Jupiter in Scorpio, with that Jupiter being in the 5th house. All right, let's get into Arnold's health before we wrap things up. So we're almost done here. We're just going to end this with Arnold's health profile and some of his health issues and accidents that he's gotten into over the years. So Schwarzenegger was born with a bicuspid aortic valve. An aortic valve with only 2 leaflets, where a normal aortic valve has 3. So the fact that Saturn is in Leo and it's co-ruler of his 6th house is pointing to his problems with his heart. And especially that 11th degree, because that could point to there's an issue with those aortic valves. So instead of there being 3, he only has 2, which could be represented by the 1 and the 1. So he opted in 1997 for a replacement heart valve made from his own pulmonic valve, which in itself was replaced with a cadaveric pulmonic valve. In a Ross procedure, medical experts predicted he would require pulmonic heart valve replacement surgery within the next 2 to 8 years because his value would progressively degrade. So Saturn conjunct Pluto in Leo is representing the surgery on his heart. Pluto conjunct Asclepius in Leo is also representing him being under a doctor's care and the surgery on his heart. Schwarzenegger apparently opted against a medical valve, the only permanent solution available at the time of his surgery, because it would sharply limit his physical activity and capacity to exercise. So that could be seen through Saturn conjunct Pluto in Leo, representing his heart problems, squaring Jupiter in Scorpio. That Jupiter and Scorpio won out in this case with it being in the 5th house, because that's him basically saying, nah, I'm not getting this mechanical device because I need to continue to work out. All right, injuries, attacks, close calls. So on December 9th, 2001, he broke 6 ribs and was hospitalized for 4 days after a motorcycle crash in Los Angeles. When you got Mars in Gemini, it's very highly likely you're going to get into some type of motor vehicle accident. Now, on that day, transiting Neptune was in Aquarius. It was opposing his sun in Leo, representing hospitalization. Transiting Chiron in Sagittarius, quincunx, North Node, and Taurus, representing his safety being at risk, more than likely because he was being reckless. Transiting Mars was squaring the nodes. Transiting Mercury in Sagittarius was opposing Mars in Gemini. So this is basically representing the accident itself. Schwarzenegger saved a drowning man in 2004 while on vacation in Hawaii by swimming out and bringing him back to the shore. So him basically saving a man from drowning, that's another reason why I call him the UBERMENSCH. So again, he's this successful bodybuilder, won Mr. Olympia 7 times. He became very successful as an actor in Hollywood. He became governor of California, and now he's saving some man's life, like really playing Superman. So the transiting nodes in Scorpio and Taurus were squaring his Saturn and Leo. So basically a life or death situation. Somebody's life is at risk, safety concerns. Transiting Uranus and Pisces, quincunx, Sun and Leo. That's basically dealing with the water, and also him having to adjust his recreation time in order to save somebody. Transiting Chiron in Capricorn, opposing Venus in Cancer. This can be represented by this information being publicized about his heroic efforts. Transiting Mars in Gemini, sextile Saturn in Leo. That's basically him acting fast in order to save that man. On January 8, 2006, while Schwarzenegger was riding his Harley-Davidson motorcycle in Los Angeles, his son Patrick in the sidecar, another driver backed into the street he was riding on, causing him and his son to collide with the car at a low speed. While his son and the other driver were unharmed, Schwarzenegger sustained an injury to his lip requiring 15 stitches. No citations were issued, said Officer Jason Lee at Los Angeles Police Department, a Los Angeles Police Department spokesman. So he didn't get his license, his motorcycle license, until July 3rd, 2006. So he was kind of being rebellious with that, which is very Mars conjunct Uranus. But on that day, transiting Pluto was in Sagittarius, and it was opposing his Uranus in Gemini, which can produce like a hairy situation, near-death situation involving him riding the motorcycle. Pluto in Sagittarius was squaring his Pisces midheaven. Transiting Pluto in Sagittarius, sesqui-square Saturn in Leo. And transiting North Node in Aries, opposing Neptune in Libra. Schwarzenegger tripped over his ski pole and broke his right femur while skiing in Sun Valley, Idaho with his family on December 23rd, 2006. On December 26th, he underwent a 90-minute operation in which cables and screws were used to wire the broken bone back together. So transiting Pluto in Sagittarius, forming a sesqui-square with his Saturn in Leo. Basically, this shows an accident that occurred while he was doing something recreational. Transiting Uranus in Pisces, which is representing the skiing, quincunx Saturn in Leo. That could have dealt with him just being overly confident and basically getting injured as a result. And then transiting nodes in Pisces and Virgo, squaring Mars in Gemini. And that probably really bothered him because he couldn't move around the way he wanted. He's basically stuck in the hospital for a while with that one. And that could also deal with the medication that he was on was kind of messing up his mental state a little bit. Schwarzenegger's private jet made an emergency landing at Van Nuys Airport on June 19, 2009. Now, this could have been an attempted hit. Who knows? After the pilot reported smoke coming from the cockpit, according to a statement released by his press secretary. No one was harmed in the incident. So on that day, transiting Uranus in Pisces was forming a sesqui-square with Saturn in Leo, which could deal with a scary situation when he is on some type of aircraft. In this case, he was on his private jet. Transiting Uranus in Pisces, trine Venus in Cancer. This can be representing the pilot that got them safely down. And I'm sure Arnold was really grateful to him. And then transiting Mars, Venus, and Moon in Taurus, representing safety concerns, squaring his Pluto in Leo. On March 29, 2018, Schwarzenegger underwent emergency open heart surgery for replacement of his replacement pulmonic valve. He said about his recovery, I underwent open heart surgery this spring. I had to use a walker. I had to do breathing exercises 5 times a day to retain my lungs. That's at Mars and Gemini, conjunct Uranus. I was frustrated and angry, and in my worst moments, I couldn't see the way back to my old self. So transiting North Node was conjoined to Pluto and Saturn in Leo, representing the surgery on his heart. Transiting South Node in Aquarius, opposing Pluto and Saturn in Leo. This is another aspect dealing with his heart surgery, especially in terms of them having to reattach blood vessels and all that with the Aquarius. And then transiting Pluto in Capricorn, quincunx Mars and Gemini. This is what he's talking about, where he had to do the breathing exercises, where he had to use a walker. He had to retrain his lungs. Transiting Saturn in Capricorn, squaring Neptune in the 4th. And that's limited mobility, being stuck in the hospital, all that. Uh-oh. Okay. On May 18, 2019, while on a visit to South Africa, Schwarzenegger was attacked and drop-kicked from behind by an unknown malefactor while giving autographs to his fans at one of the local schools. Despite the surprise and unprovoked nature of the attack, he reportedly suffered no injuries and continued to interact with fans. The attacker was apprehended, and Schwarzenegger declined to press charges against him. So on that day, transiting Venus and Uranus in Taurus was opposing Chiron in Scorpio, and that could represent the event that he was attending, where there's a bunch of fans asking for his autograph, but also where his safety is in jeopardy because of the Taurus Scorpio theme. Transiting South Node in Saturn and Capricorn, quincunx Mars and Gemini. That's like his security force springing into action. And then transiting Saturn was right on his black moon Lilith, opposing the ascendant, and that's dealing with the malefactor that basically kicked him from behind. In 2020, 23 years after his first surgery, Schwarzenegger underwent a surgery for a new aortic valve. So on that day, well, I can't say the exact day, but during that time, transiting Chiron was in Aries, and it was forming a trine with his sun in Leo, which is the epitome of getting a new aortic valve. Transiting Mars in Aquarius, opposing Saturn and Pluto in Leo. And then lastly, we have a car accident that occurred in 2022. Arnold is a mess. Schwarzenegger was involved in a multi-vehicle collision on the afternoon of Friday, January 21st, 2022. He was driving a black GMC Yukon SUV near the intersections of Sunset Boulevard and Allenford Avenue in the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles when his vehicle collided with a red Toyota Prius. Look at this car. How in the hell? He must have been driving like a bat out of hell. The driver of the Prius was transported to the hospital for injuries sustained to her head. Schwarzenegger was uninjured. So on that day, transiting Pluto was in Capricorn, opposing Venus in Cancer, which can represent a near-death experience involving a woman. Transiting Mercury in Aquarius, opposing Sun in Leo, representing the car situation that brought him attention. And with that, hold on, let me go back, because this is very Aquarian. Oh, I guess I don't want to go back. Hold on. Okay. Mercury in Aquarius can be a situation where a car does lift up off of the ground, like how you see right here. Also, accidents where a car like goes flying through the air, that's very Mercury and Aquarius as well. All right, so let's get into some of his fixed stars before we close out. So he has Pluto conjunct Acubens. Acubens deals with astrology, writing, perseverance. The perseverance definitely deals with him, but also domestic problems, which he encountered with the housekeeper and his wife. Poison and liars. Chiron conjunct Princeps. Ability to research keen information, studious and profound mind. Business, government, we know the government applies to him. Law, science, arts, lies again, and we know people have told lies on Arnold. Ambition, North Node conjunct Alcyone. Ambition, honor, glory, trouble with the opposite sex, which he's definitely encountered. Homosexuality, you could ascribe that to when he posed for the gay magazine, but there could also be other elements dealing with that. Disgrace, bereavement, loss, sorrow. South Node conjunct Ptolemy, occult and philosophical learning, self-analysis, honors, beneficence, friends, refinement, high position. The high position applies to him. Stubborn, cruel, stormy, or spoiled relationships with women definitely applies. Need for freedom. Venus parallel Corniforous. Fixity of purpose, strength of character, ardent nature, and dangerous passions. You can see his dangerous passions by him wanting to be driving all wild with his motorcycle. Mars parallel Hamal. Hamal deals with violence, cruelty, brutality. Now that could just apply to the movies that he's been in, namely the Terminator, Conan, Running Man, but also healers. And he's been surrounded by healers due to his heart problems. Mars conjunct Bellatrix, loquaciousness, accidents, sudden dishonor. Jupiter parallel Algorab, scavenging, destructiveness, repulsiveness, malevolence, fiendishness, and lying, suicide, greed, injuries. And mainly a lot of this is dealing with the movies that he's played in. Jupiter conjunct Zubin El Shamali, honors, wealth, distinction, brilliant mind, success in sports, politics, war, religion, writing, tragedy, violence, and melancholy. Ascendant and Mercury conjunct Wasat. Wasat can pertain to chemicals, poisons, gas, violence, malevolence, destructiveness, pessimism, clear authoritative speech, which he definitely needed being the governor of California, and prominence in public affairs. So this star definitely helped him to gain that seat in the California governor's office. Ascendant and Mercury parallel Arcturus. This is another star that can basically make someone famous and rich, and where they could be traveling a lot. Ascendant and Mercury conjunct Castor, sudden fame or loss, distinction, having a keen mind, violence, mischief, and the mortal twin. I think it's funny that this star is conjoined to his ascendant and Mercury, because it makes me think of that movie Twins with Danny DeVito. And then we have Moon conjunct cause medius. So it is favorable for coronations. I don't know if he's ever been knighted by the queen or whatever, but makes one polite, popular, many friends, danger of earthquakes, nature, disaster, political conflict. Moon conjunct cause Australids. Quiet nature, and that can apply to his moon in Capricorn alone. Strong limbs, keen intellect, swift movement, and indefatigable spirit. Sorry. Moon parallel Antares, spirit of adventure, but also obstinacy, injury to the eyes, honor, sudden loss, stubborn, suspicious, violent, several marriages. But I think Arnold's only been married once, so that doesn't apply to him. Sun conjunct Persepi, inner drive, reclusive, blindness, murder, tragedy, fires, homosexuality, violent death. He might die a violent death because of them accidents he's already been in if he don't calm it down when he's driving. Sun conjunct and Venus parallel Ascellus Borealis, patience, beneficence, courage, heroic and defiant leader. Sun parallel Mufrid, prosperity from work, planning, strong desires, a tendency towards excess, a fondness for rural pursuits, occultism. Saturn parallel Sham can make him combative, opinionated, jealousy, danger of death in battle. This could also apply to his father as well because of the Saturn influence. Uranus conjunct Alheka, honors, wealth, power, greed, and aggression. Uranus conjunct Alnitic, notoriety, good fortune, and lasting happiness. Neptune conjunct Diadem, suave, well-bred, personal charm, dissipation, dramatic ability that goes into him being an actor. Neptune conjoining to Parima, courteous, refined, lovable, prophetic instincts, charming, intriguing, but also scandals. Feminine, submissive, childbirth, and atonement offering. Neptune, that's basically what he gave that housekeeper. Neptune conjunct Vendamatrix, falsity, folly, disgrace, stealing, widowhood, depression, witch hunts, mysticism, and the occult. Now, with Neptune being in his fourth house, that can mean that there was somebody in his house at some point that was doing some witchy stuff, that was doing something that could have been mystical, magical. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if that housekeeper was putting something in his food for them to basically seal the deal. Midheaven conjunct Matar, ambition, vanity, intuition, enthusiasm, caprice, bad judgment, changes in weather, events occurring concerning ships and ocean, knowledge of healing herbs. So that concludes. I hit it right on time. I was like, I'm gonna get done by 6 p.m. my time, and it's 5:59. So that concludes my reading about Arnold. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, he has really lived his life to the fullest in a number of ways, including all the accidents and injuries he's had and all that type of stuff. But yeah, just to summarize, Justin, I do believe that he has narcissistic tendencies, but can I call him a straight up dark-sided narcissistic Leo? I would say no. Does he have some dark-sided traits? Of course. Namely, not being able to keep his penis in his pants. And him, the whole sexual misconduct and stuff like that. But overall, I don't think he's a dark-sided Leo. I think he's just a very man's man that can be very arrogant, that can be very obstinate, very willful. And he's just one of those type of men where he really doesn't apologize too much for who he is and how he lives his life. But yeah, that concludes my reading about Arnold. Stay tuned for more sponsored videos. Got quite a few coming up. And the next one I will be doing is Mars and Gemini, which Kawaii Honey has sponsored, because I got to do it before Mars leaves Gemini. So stay tuned for that. And thank you so much, Justin, for sponsoring this video. Thank you so much. Love you to death. And again, sometimes I'd be crushing on you. I ain't gonna lie. But if I was 20 years younger, I'd be like, maybe I'd be trying to holler. But you're like a son to me. So I got to maintain those boundaries. You know what I'm saying? But no, I'm so proud of you, Justin. You have come a long way. And I'm so glad that I've been with you from the beginning, and I've been able to see your transition from being very thin to getting all bulked up and being all ripped. I just be looking at you on Instagram sometimes like, look at him. Look at him. But yeah, keep on doing what you're doing, Justin. And I'm sure, so are you going to be competing at some point? You did mention one of the leagues. I forgot the name of it, but do you plan on competing? If so, good luck to you. And like I said, I think you could probably already win some competitions the way you look. But yeah, I wish you all the best. And Justin sponsored a few more other videos, so I'll be doing some more for him as well as other people that have sponsored videos. So yeah, stay tuned. I got a lot coming up for y'all. And there was something else I wanted to say before I let y'all go. I can't remember what it was though. The next time I see y'all, it'll probably be Virgo season. But yeah, everybody stay cool. Love you all. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Diggable Planets. Thank you, subscribers. Thanks to all my clients. Thanks to everybody who's just viewing for the first time. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And thank you to my Patreons. I'll be posting the tarot card of the week tonight, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, I'll be back soon.